Today I will design a network based on some requirements. The requirements are given here. So we are given an IP address and there will be different number of hosts for different subnetworks. It's given up here. And the topology should be based on these requirements. I'm not reading this right now. I will go as I design and I'll come back to the point that I'm actually meeting the requirement. First of all, the network IP addresses is configured as per the requirement. We have to subnet, and we see that there are 3 subnetworks here. So we start always with the largest subnetwork host. So that's for the first subnetwork, and then we go to the second largest, the second network, and then we go to the smallest, that's third network. So let's start bringing our network. First of all, we go to the network devices and we pick up here 2911 series router, because it will be only one router will be connected 3 subnetworks. So we need to get 3 switches. So we click on the network devices again and we see the switch, and we take 2960, another 2960, and another 2960. Okay. Different kind of devices should be connected by the straight through cable, and same type of devices should be connected by the crossover cable. So we select router and switch, we connect the links by straight through cable. You see that we hover the mouse and we see copper straight through cable at the bottom. We can pick up any of this interface and we connect here the first one here Z00, and then we go again another one, we connect this one Z01, and then we click again here and we connect the third interface of the router with this switch. Okay, and then we said the first usable valid host will be configured the default router interface. We will configure later. We're just making the topology as per the requirement. It says somewhere that each the first 2 subnetworks will have 2 PCs each. So we connect by the end devices. We drag some PC here, PC 0, PC 1, and then PC 2, and then PC 3. And again, different kind of devices, you should use straight through cable. So we are clicking all the cable connections. And then the final one here, like this. Then we would have multiple servers. In this requirement, if we go through, you can pause my video and you can go through the requirements. There will be multiple servers. So how many servers we need? As per the requirement, we need 6. So we go back to the end device and we drag some servers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the first one we can change the level. So we make it a DHCP just for our convenience. And we make this DNS. We make this COE.com server, which will be an email server. ICS.com, and then we make a FTP server, and we make a HTTP server. Okay, so these are the servers we need to connect with the links. Again, we choose the straight to cable, different type of devices. We're nearly finishing with all the cable connections. So for the spanning tree protocol, you see the light is from embedded turns green and some lights are red. I'll explain in time that why these lights are red, because all the interfaces are at this moment shut down. We need to turn them on. So there is a command we have to issue that will make them turn on. Okay, so our cable connections are done. We just make it a bit separated so it is not so crowdy. Okay, so this is our physical topology. Now here, as you see, that the first network is this, so we'll make a network. So what we can do, I'm trying to get a box here. Place a note. I think I can do that. Yep. So the first network is 200.200.200.0/25, and the IP address for that interface is .1. And the second network here, this .1 should be, I'm trying to drag it there, so I don't want to. Okay, how I can go back to the, so if I escape, yep. So this would be .1 interface here. Make it just slightly coming up here, and I can have another node. So this is my second network, which is this 200.200.128. This is for your understanding and convenience that what I'm configuring where /27. These networks are based on the requirement, the requirement I have in this site. So based on this, I designed this network like that. So the first usable for the second network is .129. So I just write this. So the top one, this is the network address, and this is the interface address. Okay. Now, and then here, this side, the network address is 200.200.160. So in the middle, 200.200.160 and /28. I'm skipping why I have different subnet masks, different network address, because that should be the scope of different explanation and different video. I assume that you understand that. So, and here, this is the 161 is the first usable in this range of network, right? So if I just do this here, so that's the different things. Now this side of the devices will be all statically assigned. So let's do the easy part first. Okay, so we go, this is the 161, so we give 162, 163, 164 like that, all these addresses. So the DHCP server IP address, desktop IP configuration, statically 200.200.200.162, and I would know that the DNS server IP address would be next one, 166. So I am giving this right now. I will assign the services later. I'm just configuring the IP addresses. So desktop IP configuration 163, and server, one of them will be simply 164. And remember, the DNS is always 163. So 161, 162, 163, 164. Now I'm going to the next one, desktop 165. Okay, 163. And be careful, the subnet mask. I'm not typing the subnet mask as yet, but this is wrong. I'm going to change this straight away. So let me finish because I already have done all this configuration, but I haven't changed the subnet mask. That is incorrect. I'm going to change now. I just realized I'm just actually doing on the fly. So you need to be careful what you're doing and how you're doing, right? So this subnet mask is incorrect for this configuration as per the left side IP address configuration. So 165 is ics.com. So FTP IP configuration 166, and DNS is of course 163, and last one is 167. And now I start fixing up the subnet mask, which is 240. See, the 240 is a star subnetwork. So we are going to change this, all of them going back. I should have done at the beginning, but I missed it, so I skipped that. So I'm now doing again for all of them. Okay, so it's reflecting the subnet mask for this network, the third subnetwork, which is should be statically assigned, as it says here. It says here that it should be statically assigned. So I did that. Now I'm going to change this to 40 for this bit. So FTP is done. Now ics.com. Now coe.com. Now server itself. If there is a mismatch, if you missed any of them, they will not communicate. They will not be in the same network. And of course, if they are not in the same network, they will not talk to each other. So now our IP configuration statically to be assigned for these devices is assigned, right? Now, for these PCs, as we know that we are going to assign these router interface 200, 200, 200.1 here. So this will be 2, this will be 3. So I'm going to assign the same thing. And now I'm not going to make the mistake. I know that the subnet mask will be 128 for this side. You know, this is which side? This is the G00 side. And you see that if you hover your mouse here, you see the Z00. So in this side, for that PC, I'm going to assign the IP address static. It will not be statically because they will be actually coming from the this router, and one of them will become, this side will be coming from the DHCP server. So I'm not assigning IP address of the PCs statically. I leave it as is. So all the static assignment of IP addresses I have done. Now I'm going to configure the routers. So I click on the router, click on the CLI. I would never say here yes, because if you say yes, it will go by wizard. So it will ask you what you want now, what you want now. I'm skipping that. I said I'll configure in my way. So I said no here. Press return to get started. It is now user mode. You press enable or EN in short. It will go to the executive mode. And then in this mode, you can give the command show. You can write shortcut, or you can do the show IP interface brief to see what interfaces are here. Okay, once you see all the interfaces and we see that we are physically connected to this, so they're all down because we haven't turned them on. They're physically connected, that's why it's yes, but logically down, that's why it's down. We're now going to the config terminal mode, and then you see that mode is changed. In this mode only we can configure the different things. So we say first interface Z00. Now it is the O. Please don't make the mistake. See, the first one is O and the second one is the 0. So just be careful. G0/0. That is the interface we have. This is in short of Gigabit Ethernet. Once you press enter, it goes to the interface mode. In this mode, you can configure the IP address. And the first network for G00 is the largest network. The IP address is to be the router interface address, which is this 200.200.200.1. So 200.200.200.1, and remember the subnet mask should be as per the left hand side 255.128. See the subnet mask 128. Okay, we said this no shard, it will now make it on. See the change state to on. And I just quickly show you, if you keep here do show IP interface brief, you see one of the interfaces are now up. See, this has been configured the IP address and up. See the change from here all the way up here, you see the change. So we keep doing for the other two interfaces. What I mean by the other, we configure this side and you see it's turning to be green. It will be green soon. Okay, and then now I'm going to configure this side of the interface. See, it's green. Now I'm going to configure this side of the interface. You can exit from here or you can put new interface G01 and then IP address, and the IP address for the next interface for the next subnet is this 200.200.200.129. And the subnet mask for that is 224 at the end. So 255.255.255.224, and then no shard. You'll see it will now start becoming from amber to green. Okay, see the amber, and it will be green soon. So that is up. Now we exit from here and we configure the last interface G01, and this will be the G02. Okay, and then IP address, and see the third network IP address was 161. So we say 200.200.200.161, and the subnet mask is 240. So 255.255.240, and done, and no shard. So now you see all the interfaces should be green. Okay, now if we do so, what is the next thing? What happened here? It will be DHCP. So now we have to configure the DHCP, right, in this router, and then we'll configure the services. So it doesn't take many long. It just takes 5 minutes to configure all the interfaces. We have done all the interfaces statically and all the interface in this router. Now what we are going to do, we are going to configure the DHCP server in this router now. Remember, the first job is we have to exit from the interface mode. We go to the config mode and we say IP DHCP excluded address, and then we are going to exclude for the first net of the first 10 IP addresses. So we have to start from 200.200.201 to 200.200.10. So 200.200.200.1. This is the first network we are excluding, and the range finishing at 200.200. Last address of the exclusion range is 200.200.200.10. Okay, it is in the same line. So it was not in the two different lines, in the same line, and we said enter. Now we are going to create the DHCP pool here. We say IP DHCP pool, and we give any name. So this side is the left side network. We just give the name left. You can give any name, left. And then we have to give the range of the addresses we're going to assign in this, allocate in this DHCP range. We say 200.200.200, and the network address, which is 120, which is 0. Okay, the network address of the first network 0, and the subnet mask would be 255.255.255.128, which is the network address for the first network. So we allocate this many addresses. It is total of 128 addresses. Of that, the first 10 address is being excluded. Okay, now we have to give the from which interface of the router, this IP address will be allocated to which side. We are telling that by a command default router. Okay, I'm just trying to move this. We're trying to say that through the G00, whatever the IP address will be coming from this router, it will be allocated to this side devices. All the PC0, PC7 will have dynamic IP addresses. So that's why we are saying here default router and 200.200.200.1, which is the IP address of this Z00 interface. You see that 200.200.1 is the Z0 interface. We said default router and done. And then we said DNS server, because if we have to have COE.com, KPPOM.com, ICS.com, we have to resolve the name to an IP address. So we have to configure the DNS server. Okay. So DNS server, we know that what was the IP address of the DNS server? This was 161, 162, 163. Just to make sure, we go to the DNS server and see the 163 is the DNS server IP. So we will tell this router that 200.200.163 is the DNS server. Done. We're finished. So that's what the DNS configuration, and we're done. So if we do that, now if we go back there, you see that desktop IP configuration, and if we see that it is requesting IP address, and you see the IP address automatically came here. Okay, good, done. So this side got IP address automatically. Now there is an issue. I see that there is a red mark. I need to maybe connect this device physically. There is an issue, looks like. See, this is some issues here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to delete that. Not switch to. I want to delete only this link and escape. So I come out of the delete mode and I'll connect the device again. Okay, now it should be physically good. And if I go back, once it's green, I'm just waiting for that light from amber to be green. And then I'll go to the PC itself inside. So I'm still waiting, IP configuration. And it will come. Once it's green, IP will be coming assigned automatically from the DHCP server. See, it's green and the IP address is released. And see that 11 and 12, the first 10 addresses was excluded. So we meet the requirement of the one side DHCP router. We're done. Okay. Now we have to configure this side, all the services, and this side PCs will have the IP from this DHCP server. So we are going to go to the DHCP server for giving the IP for this side of the network. You know, the range of this side of the network is starting from 129, right? And the first 10 will be excluded, and then this IP will be coming all the way from here. So we go to the service, and then we configure the network like that, like the interface of the DHCP server itself configured as is 162. This is the router address of the network, and the subnet bus of the network was 240, right? So DNS server was the next IP. The IP address, the DNS server would be 163. Okay, so we fix that, and then we go back to the services, DHCP, and in here you see that what I have done, right, the site is the network is right. So I give the name of the pool right, and the default gateway for this side of the network is 129, and then the DNS server is 163, which I just fixed a few seconds back. And the starting address, because we are excluding 10, so the 10 address after exclusion, the starting address will be 139, and this 128 block of addresses, the subnet bus was 224, I used it. So once I do this, then I save it, done, right? Now you would expect that IP address will be coming automatically here. But before we do that, we have to ensure that because this DHCP server is giving the IP address to this over the router. So the router closest to the client, the clients who will get the IP address that closest to the client interface should have a command called IP header address directing to the DHCP server. So how I do that? I show you what I did for this. Config T and interface Z01. I have just done it. So you go to the interface D01. So if you go show run here, I just have done it in the Z0 interface, which is the Z0 interface. See, if it's the Z0 interface, in this Z0 interface, which is close to the client who will receive the IP address, in Z0 interface, which is closest to the client, I repeat, you configure this IP helper address command and under that interface mode, right? So this is the IP address of the server, DHCP server. So basically what you're saying that these people to get an IP address from the server, which I just configured, you need to redirect through this interface. That's why under that interface, we configure IP header address directing to the DHCP server. That's the meaning of this. Okay. Then you will get the IP address here. So if we go there and see IP configuration, you see all the IP addresses coming from the starting address, which is after the 10 excluded IP 139, and this is the same for this. Okay, 140, the next IP available from the DHCP pool. So we configured this DHCP server, this side of the DHCP in the router, and this side of the DHCP in the server, which is over the router, giving the IP address here. We are done. Now we're going to configure basically all the DNS and other services. So we go to the DNS server and then we go to the services. We click the DNS and then we say, first of all, we add a record. It's called coe.com and we allocate the IP address. So coe.com. So if this is 161, 162, 163, 164, so it is 200.200.200.164, and we just click it, add, and then we add ics.com, and then that will be 200.200.200.165, and then we add another record, and then we add www.kfupm.com, kfupm.com, and that is the server for the HTTP, which is if we drag it. So if this is 161, 162, 163, 164, 165, 166, 167. So 200.200.200.167. In between, we have the FTP. We'll give the IP address 166 for FTP. We already have assigned it. Okay. So we are done. So we configured that, and don't forget to turn on, okay, the DNS service to turn on. So we turn on the DNS service. We are done with the DNS configuration. Now we're going to configure the email servers. So in there, we go to the services again under email. Now we're in coe.com and we are saying this is coe.com. And we are saying the name of the PC, coe.com, say COE is this side, PC0 and PC1. So we say PC0 and we give the password 123 and we set it and we add it and we assign another one PC1 and 123 is the password and we add it. So these are the two users we have added in the coe.com. And then if we go to the ics.com, we do the same thing, services, and then we are adding the email, and it is ics.com, and we say pc3 password 123, set it, we add this another pc, pc2, because we missed the pc2. I think we started with pc0, so 123 is the password, we add it. Okay, done. Now we have added these two users in this email servers. Now we are going back to this pc0, and then we go desktop email, and in here we configure this. The name is pc0, email address is pc0@coe.com, and email server is coe.com, outgoing is coe.com, username is pc0, password is 123, save. Okay, so we have pc1 desktop email, pc1 at coe.com, and email server is coe.com. pc1, we set the password 123, saved it, and then we go to the pc2 and desktop email, pc2 at ics.com, and it is ics.com this side. Don't make a typo, and ics.com. This is pc2, and password is 123. Okay, and we go back to pc3 email, configure. This is pc3 at ics.com, ics.com, incoming and outgoing email server. The name of the user is pc3. For this case, see the pc3 pc were at 123, and save it. So we done this, and then we go pc. I think we have just done pc3. Yep, and I think we are done the DNS server, and you see that desktop IP configuration. You see that this is the DNS server IP. 161 was the gateway, 162 was the DHCP, 163 is the DNS server, and then subnet mask for that was 240, and then default gateway is 160, right? 161. Once we have done that, we configure the services, which is DNS, and COE is one after the 160, 61, 62, 63, 64 is the COE, so I just configured that. So coe.com, and then you type your address and you add it, A records, and the same for 165, and this one was 167 for the KFUPM HTTP server. This is the 166 IP, I left it for FTP. So DNS is done. Next thing we have to add for the email stuff is the server. So we go to that email server coe.com, and we go to the email, and in here we just type the domain.com and then set, and then added the user pc0 password 123, pc1 password 123. So similarly, we did for all others. This is the PC2, and this is the ICS side. So in here, we go config term email, and we set the PC2 at ics.com, like that. I give you some time to view it. Did the similar for PC3, and then if we go PC0 email and we compose it from PC0 to PC1 at, this is PC0, I'm emailing PC1 to coe.com, and make a subject line to send, and it's sent success. Okay, so if we go to the PC1 and if we go email and we see receive, we see that the subject to PC0 is received now. Okay, so if we want to verify from this side, PC2, I'm in PC2 now, which is ic.com compose, and I'm going to send email from PC2 to PC0 at coe.com. Subject is 3 and just body making anything 3, send, and send success. So I send from PC2, which is from here, PC2 to all the way to, I send email to there. So if I go to PC2 to PC0, I think I send mail to PC0. Yes. So the from PC2, I got an email. See, from PC2, ics.com, I got an email to PC0, coe.com. Okay, so the email is working. Now I'm going to configure the FTP server. So in here, I go there and I show you, just to remind you, the IP configuration. In here, the default gateway should be given 200.200.200.161, and I go back to the services, and then in the FTP you make a new username, say AV is the username and password is 123, and you can list, if you tick the, you have to give at least one permissions. So if you tick the list, it will show the FTP directories by the command directory. Okay, so I'm just adding it. So how I verify that? So from anywhere, if you give the address of the FTP, which is 166, right? So from this PC, if you go to the desktop, go to the command prompt, FTP, and 200.200.200.166. See, it's now coming, and I use the username AV, password is 123. So now I'm in, and if I give the command directory, I can see all the directories there. So that's the FTP server done. But if I change this FTP service and I take up the privilege of the list thing, this one, it's list. If I take it off, and if I just say like this, it will not allow me. So I just add it. It will not allow me because it needs at least one permission. So you give the read permission and you add it. So now I've changed the permission. Now if I go back to any other PCs, just to see that it's accessible from any PC, the FTP server. So if you go command prompt FTP 200.200.200.166, and username is AV, password is 123, and if I give here directory, it's still showing me, but I think I haven't saved that. Okay, yeah, it's still list, that's why. So if I just give you read permission and save it, not adding, in last time I just added, it didn't replace anything. This time I changed from the privilege list just to read, and I saved it. Now if I go back to the same PC, and if you want to give the one directory, it will not allow you. See, the permission is taken off, permission denied. Okay, so that tip is also working. Now the last one is the HTTP. In here, services, HTTP is already on, right? Now what we can do, because we have the DNS, it should work straight away. Um, if we go, because we have added that, if we go to the desktop and browser, it will take a while to open the browser. And if we say www.kfupm.com and hit enter, it should come up. If, oh, maybe because we haven't added the in here, the problem is we haven't added the default gateway. See, this is missing. So 200.200.200.161. We save it, and then we come back. See, it's coming up. So the HTTP server is also coming because of the DNS is working. So that's why KFUPM is working, also working. But we know that the HTTP server address is 200. Okay, I show you from a different PC. This is PC 0. And now I go back to PC 3, for example. I open web browser again. And instead of the domain name, if we just say the IP address of the HTTP server, 200.200. And you remember the IP address of the thing was 165, I think. Okay, I forgot what was the IP address. It was 167. So if we go back, it will take a while to open the web browser. Yeah, 200.200.200.167. See, both the IP address and the domain name way, the HTTP server service, which is the website showing, it's coming up. That's all, my friends, and thank you for watching.